There are concerns that the new EC chair, Charlotte Osei, is affiliated to the ruling NDC.
I've known Charlotte Osei for a long time, and I don't think anyone can tell me that she's not affiliated with the NDC.
President Mahama today swore in the new EC boss at the Flagstaff House, hailing the former EC boss, Dr. Kwadwo Afari-Gyan, for his performance, whilst entreating Madam Charlotte Osei to strive to perform better.
While congratulating you on your appointment to what is a rather tough position, let me remind you with all humility that you're stepping in some very big shoes, into some very big shoes.
Now, the newly sworn in Electoral Commission boss, Charlotte Osei, has however promised to be impartial and work with conviction in the discharge of her duty.
It is my hope that together with my colleagues at the EC, we will continue to build and strengthen those structures towards a stronger, more independent, objective and impartial commission.
The question now remains, will her alleged affiliation to the ruling party affect her performance at the Electoral Commission? Now, if this is true, how independent and neutral can she be, especially in her dealings with the other political parties? The bigger question, can this affect her objectivity? This is today's big story with me, Aisha Ibrahim. We're back in a jiffy. So, Madam Charlotte Osei's appointment has been met with mixed reactions, especially because of a case pending before the Supreme Court, waiting for interpretation. Today at the swearing-in ceremony, President Mahama reminded the new EC boss of the toughness of her new role.
Ghana has today achieved another major feat. Just yesterday, I received the voluntary resignation of Mrs. Charlotte Osei as chairperson of the NCCE, and today we're gathered here to swear her in as the new chairperson of the Electoral Commission. This marks another milestone in our journey of democratic consolidation. On behalf of all Ghanaians and on my own behalf, I wish to thank the Council of State for the sound advice I received in the appointment of the new EC chairperson. Mrs. Charlotte Osei comes to the EC with very solid credentials in both legal practice and public service. While congratulating you on your appointment to what is a rather tough position, let me remind you with all humility that you're stepping in some very big shoes, into some very big shoes. Dr. Kwadwo Afari-Gyan has proven over the last 2 decades or so that he is a colossus when it comes to elections and electoral systems, and has, despite whatever grievances we as politicians might have expressed against him, either in government or in opposition, distinguished himself creditably and contributed immensely to the stability of our democracy. We are, however, blessed to have some other very experienced deputy commissioners and members of the commission in place, who I'm sure will provide you with some invaluable advice and support in the management of the commission and the administration of our elections. Ghana can be proud of its Electoral Commission, which has become a model for the rest of the continent. Our commissioners have been invited regularly to assist other countries to consolidate and construct their own electoral systems. If Ghana today is celebrated as a model of democracy, a large measure of that credit should go to Dr. Afari-Gyan and the members of the Electoral Commission.
Well, Madam Charlotte Osei says she's fully aware of the task ahead and has promised to live up to expectation.
As you can imagine, I have received prayers, words of encouragement and support I have received health tips, stress management tips, job applications, songs, cautions, pleas. I acknowledge all of them with gratitude. Particularly for the women of Ghana and the young girls. I know that I carry their dreams and aspirations, and I appreciate that I'm standing on the shoulders of women who have gone ahead and opened the doors for me and others to walk through today. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank my predecessors for the strong foundation they have built at the Electoral Commission. Now, it is my hope that together with my colleagues at the EC, we will continue to build and strengthen those structures towards a stronger, more independent, objective, and impartial commission. We will work hard to continue the process of internal reforms and ensure a more effective and collaborative service delivery platform, and thereby increase the confidence of all our stakeholders in the institution and in Ghana's democracy. In that respect, I am counting on the support of members of the Commission, the management and staff of the Electoral Commission, and the entire nation. From what I've gathered from all the messages I've received, the collective desire of our people is that as chair of the Electoral Commission, I act with conviction and conscience, understanding that it is service to God and country above all else. This I will do. Also, following my resignation from the NCC to take up this new position, I want to wish my successor well, whoever is appointed, and also urge my colleagues at the NCC to show my successor the phenomenal level of support they showed me during my tenure. Your Excellency, the Bible says that by strength shall no man prevail. I am depending on the grace of God to sustain me in this new job, and the prayers and the collective goodwill of all Ghanaians, I believe, will see us through. God bless Ghana, and God bless the Electoral Commission.
However, some people close to her say she's affiliated to the governing NDC. Former director of the Dankwa Institute, Barima Osei Asare, is one of them. He told Joy News he knows Charlotte Osei personally and has no doubt in his mind the successor to Afarijan has political leanings to the ruling NDC.
I've known Charlotte Osei for a long time, and I don't think anyone can tell me that she's not affiliated with the NDC. I don't think anyone can tell me that. Let me make my point.
Okay.
Let me make my point.
I don't know of that.
You
no,
don't know.
I'm learning about that. So
you don't know. But I'm saying that. I'm saying that as a fact. The affiliation is in terms of her political leanings. There's absolutely no two ways about it.
And how do you come to that conclusion?
I come to that conclusion because I know her. I think it is fair to expect nothing less than professionalism, impartiality, and a strong level of objectivity to fulfilling the objectives of the commission. To me, that's really what it's all about.
So how would her affiliation to the NDC, if that is true, affect her objectivity? On the line right now is Dr. Ali Desaido. He's a political scientist who will help us dissect the issue at stake. Good evening, Dr. Ali Desaido. Ramadan Mubarak.
Good evening. Thank you, Aisha. Ramadan Mubarak to you.
Many thanks to you. Now, the Electoral Commission in recent times has had issues with credibility. What, in your opinion, is the most important step the newly sworn-in chair must take to remedy this?
Yeah, I think first of all, you have to be responsive to the demand, and then the reasonable demand, and then the right of the people you are working with. The Electoral Commission is a very important democratic deepening institution because one of the core fundamentals of democracy is free, fair, and transparent elections.
Right.
And the Electoral Commission is the body that manages elections. That is the referee in this process. And if you are referee, there are stakeholders to the game that you are controlling.
Right.
And the stakeholders are the various political parties that seek to win power.
Okay.
And at times, political parties can be desperate in their bid to win power. And they may use approaches and mechanisms and means that may be constitutional some may not be constitutional.
Okay.
So it is the responsibility of you, Elefri, of such stakeholders, some of which are even desperate, and some may use illegal means to try to get what they should use constitutional means to get.
Okay.
You must be responsible to the needs of all of them.
Right.
And being responsive means that there are times that you have to compromise. There are times that you have to be very firm about your demands.
Right.
So as long as she is responsive, she is objective, she is impartial, then she'll be able to deal with all the various stakeholders that are involved moving forward.
Her objectivity in her new office has been questioned in the sense that there are people who feel she's affiliated to the ruling NDC. Do you agree this? Do you agree to this?
I think it can still be objective, notwithstanding your partisan affiliation.
Right.
It happens. Even, and looking at, I've had time to go to her CV and her profile,
Right.
and I've seen that she has overwhelming experience. She has been a teaching assistant, and she has even taught part-time at the university.
Okay.
One thing she can pick from here is that in academia, people do research work that are even against their interests, their background, their affiliations and alignment. But one thing that you are supposed to do is that you should be very objective. You should realize the biases that may come your way as you do your research and try to overcome them. So it is nobody in this country. There are few people who may not be affiliated to political parties.
Right.
But that notwithstanding, you can still do your job in a very impartial, objective manner, devoid of the partisan affiliation that you associate yourself to.
Right.
I think there have been several times that the former EC boss, Afarijan, said that he's a registered voter, but he decides not to vote just because all the political party leaders of the political parties are his brothers.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that there is no party that he supports.
Okay.
But he is able to exhibit that element of professionalism. And professionalism means that you do the right thing, notwithstanding of your biases, your affiliations, and your preferences. So I think we can establish that. We don't know whether she's a card-bearing member of the NDC.
Right.
But even if we are able to establish that, she can still do her job in a professional manner, devoid of her partisan affiliation.
Okay, Dr. Alido, I'll have you hold for a minute because on the other line is Dr. Edusei Poku. He's with the University of Ghana and he's a political scientist as well. We appreciate your time on today's big story. Hello, Dr. Poku Edusei.
Yeah, hello.
We appreciate your time on today's big story.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's look at Madame Charlotte Osei, right from the NCCE to her new position. We know she has a lot of credentials, but really, what does she bring on board?
Well, to start with, I'm Dr. Kojo Opoku Edu, not Edusei.
Right. Thanks for the correction.
That's right. Well, I think she is a lawyer, and in the past, the Electoral Commission commissioners we've had have all been lawyers, with the exception of Afarijan. So she's cast in the mold of the Electoral Commissioners we've had in the past, and I think she understands the nature of the job. And so I think she comes to the office as someone who has legal knowledge and someone who understands that after 23 years of experiment with democracy, if you like, she has to carry on in ways that will be acceptable to all. And even though I personally thought that someone other than this woman was going to be appointed, I think she understands. She understands that after 23 years and after 6 elections, she cannot but conduct herself in ways that will make the outcome credible and also binding on all. And to do that, as the earlier speaker said, she has to, be very transparent, very fair and firm. and stick to the rules. I think secondly, she understands that there is a structure and processes that have been functioning since 1992, and she's coming to preside over this structure, this bureaucracy, and these processes.
Right.
And she has to do that in ways that will not lead this country into the kind of difficulties other nations have had as a result of elections.
Dr. Opokwedu, the 2012 election petition hearing proposed some electoral reforms. What, in your topmost expectation of the newly sworn in EC chair, what would you expect her to do? I mean, topmost.
Well, I think first of all, she has to look at the suggestions made by the Supreme Court, and also suggestions that have been made since then by the various political parties. I think she needs to look first into the whole question of the voters register, which some people have described as quite voted, even though there are those who disagree. Some studies done in this country by some researchers from Scotland revealed that Ghana's voters register is voted and is by and large becoming the third force in our politics. So he needs to look seriously into that direction, because one of the things that can so easily destabilize our current practice is this voters register. And so he has to look there. And then, of course, there were other issues that were mentioned, including the pink sheet and how they were signed and so on and so forth. So she needs to look at that, work closely with the deputy commissioners who have experience, and indeed also the inter-party committee and other stakeholders, to make sure that the processes become so transparent and fair,
right,
to the extent that everybody will see it, the outcomes, as I said, legitimate and binding.
Well, point well made. I'll have you hold and go on to the other phone lines where Dr. Ali Desaido is. Dr. Ali Desaido, if you can hear me, the EC in recent times has suffered numerous lawsuits and lost most of the cases. Now, the EC boss, who is now being sworn in, takes a new job with a law background. Will this safeguard the EC in any way?
Yeah, I think, like my colleague mentioned, she comes with a lot of experience, especially from the legal field. But that one alone is nothing until she is able to work closely with all the other commissioners and the other people who work at the commission entirely.
Right.
Because the Electoral Commission is an institution by itself, and the Electoral Commission can do better when we are able to strengthen the structures of that institution,
right,
and build the capacity and work in tandem with every other person that works in the institution. Because it's often said that when you work as a group, you move at the pace of the slowest person and the inefficient person in that particular group. So I think working together with the other commissioners and then all the other members of the Electoral Commission as an institution can enhance the credibility and the efficiency of the commission.
Okay.
As, the newly appointed EC boss alone cannot do a lot. To have to liaise with the members of the commission, the various stakeholders that are party to the electoral processes in this country, and together they can put their heads together, and then we can have a lot of innovation in the way elections are run in this country, and that will go a long way to consolidate our democracy. So it's a plus that she's coming with a very decent legal background. But the other thing too is that we must respect the institutions, the norms, and then the custom and behavior of the EMB, the EC as an electoral management body, and then the laws that govern how elections are conducted in this particular country. When we do it in that way, there wouldn't even be the need for people to sue the Electoral Commission. But we put all these things aside and want to behave in a way that shows that we don't regard these particular institutions and laws that govern the way elections are conducted in this country, then should be in for more legal challenges.
And so, accessing her from her former position as NCCE boss, are you confident she can handle this new job?
Yeah, I think with the ECC boss, the similarity is that these are all good state-based institutions, and she was in an administrative position. She was providing leadership and then direction to a lot of people. I think in the EC, I think it is about 1,700 plus and over 200 other affiliate agencies across the country. So that element of leadership and administrative skills and all those things will help her so much.
Probably what may make her work a bit tougher is the fact that she's going to deal with more politicians now, which she did not when she was with the NCCE.
Sorry?
I'm saying that probably what will make her face challenges will be the fact that now she has to deal with political parties, which she did not do when she was with the NCCE.
Yeah, even when she was at the NCCE, she was dealing with political parties to some extent, like education on election issues, listening with political parties to educate and inform the people about their rights to vote and all the other things. But now she's going to do it in a different manner at the EC.
Right.
So first of all, I was just trying to paint out the similarity between the executive level position and management that she had from the NCC, which will help her. But the EC is not the same as the NCC. This is a very different institution, and she holds in her hands the destiny and the democratic development of Ghana during the election period. And that is more challenging. The challenge comes from the fact that political parties want power, no matter what. And they will try as much as possible to try to either compromise her, castigate her, bend the rules they will force her to bend the rules for them, and several other things. So what she will have to do is to be firm and work according to the laws. Once she is firm and develops a thick skin over time, she'll be able to stand up to these challenges that will come. I think one of the important things about Afarijan was that he was very firm. And sometimes political parties realize that you will not bend him to disobey the rules and favor you.
Right.
He was always firm in his dealings, and he always made sure that specific leadership style about him being firm and being responsive also to the needs of those stakeholders made him to bring Ghana's democracy this far. And the new EC boss must learn those particular tricks. And they are very specific, and some of them are even situational. Some leadership skills are based on the situation in which you are acting. And she will have to learn over time that sometimes you have to be firm and you take decisions based on the challenges that come at that particular point in time. Once she's able to put all these things together, I think she can function perfectly within that position. She has the administrative skills though, but that position at the EC is quite different and very challenging as compared to the position at the NCC.
Right, let's get on to the other phone lines and speak with Dr. Opokwedu. Dr. Opokwedu, there's a case at the court challenging or that needs to define how to elect or appoint an electoral commissioner. You think that a ruling from the court can make any difference now that a new EC boss has been sworn in?
Well, yeah, I mean, this country is law governed. And so when the Supreme Court makes a decision that is contrary to a decision taken by the executive, then I think the president's choice becomes null and void. And so, and that's why I think people were expecting that at least they will wait for about a week more for the court decision to be made. And I think it's quite clear that if the court decides otherwise, then it will affect the choice of this woman as the next Electoral Commission.
Okay,
because, yeah.
All right, so let's hear you, Dr. Edupoku.
Yeah, so I think that's a problem. And of course, there are other technicalities. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a legal scientist. But for example, her position as the chairperson of the National Commission for Civic Education was one that she was going to occupy till she retires. Nobody could remove her, unless, of course, she was dead or mad or probably became or demonstrated gross professional incompetence. And so has the government the power, for example, to move her from that position?
Let's look at her new position. The president himself has cautioned that it's a big shoe she's wearing now. Is it really a big shoe with all her credentials?
Yeah, it is. It is, because the struggle for power in this country is becoming so intense. In the last two elections, you've seen how the two parties have been running neck and neck. And so you need someone who is, up to the task. But I think that, she has about 24, 25 years more to retire. She's going to occupy this position, for about 2 decades, over 2 decades, if she doesn't probably pass on and so on. And so she really has no reason to try to please this or that political party to stay in power. So having a very secure job, one expects her to deal with the issues of law and objectivity demand. And therefore, she's going to be able to do that. And I'm sure as a lawyer, she also understands that one of the reasons why she could be removed is the fact that she displays gross professional incompetence in the election. Then she could be removed. And so she's going to work very hard. The good thing is that she has a number of deputy commissioners who have experience and political parties that are ready to cooperate. Because today, I saw all the chairpersons of the various political parties, at the swearing in, which is some indication of some general consensus as to the choice of this woman. So the job is difficult, and it is made difficult by the fact that struggle for power is sometimes a grim battle. And the one who is serving as the referee ought to be seen to be very, very impartial, and so on. And so the slightest mistake, might even be described or seen as being biased for this or that party, when in actual fact, it may be simply a mistake. And so she's going to occupy a very big position, which is also very sensitive. And there's a need for her to work according to the rules. And that's why I said that the structures are there and the processes are they've been functioning in the last 2 decades or so.
So she needs to work according to the rules. Well, many thanks to you, Dr. Opokwedu, for your contribution. On the other line is Dr. Ali Disedo. Briefly, there is a voters register that has been challenged, and in next year we're entering into an election year. You have any recommendations for the new EC boss? Hello, Dr. Ali Disedo.
Hello?
Yes, Dr. Ali Disedo, I'm saying that there is a voters register that has been challenged, and next year we are entering into an election year. Is there any recommendation you want to give to the new EC boss?
Yeah, I think the voter register is one of the most fundamental documents that depends our democracy. So when such a register is clean and perfect, it's more likely to bring a very transparent election. Because most of the battles we usually have at the polling station has to do with the fact that people who were credible and registered very well came and their names were not there, or people who were underage or not qualified to vote managed to have their names in the voter register. So I think one of the crucial things is having a clean, transparent, acceptable voter register going to 2016.
Exactly.
And I think if she's able to work very well with the other commissioners who have already been in the system and with various political parties, that's through the platform of IPAC,
right,
I think they'll be able to do a lot. There's already been suggestions out there and recommendations as to how to go about this. So I think when she steps in, she just has to study all these already existing documents and then consult widely with the stakeholders in the electoral processes. And I think a clean, transparent, acceptable voter register can be agreed on going towards 2016.
Well, many thanks to you, Dr. Ali Disedo. We're extremely grateful for your time on today's Big Story. We've been talking the swearing in of the new Electoral Commissioner, Madame Charlotte Osei, and we're looking at what she brings on board, looking at what she has, her qualification and everything that she has. What really is she bringing on board? We've heard from some political scientists that will be back shortly with Joy News Interactive.